morning, everyone. Great to see everyone. I'm celebrating my second anniversary here at Earnix today and the third summit. You do the math. So no better gift than this. Thank you so much. Before I start my presentation, I want to say to Unica, it's truly inspiring. What we've seen here, the approach, the focus, the benchmark, the systematic way of building a value is stunning. So I was definitely inspired by what we just saw, and it's great to see it. So, took time to choose title for this one. I wasn't sure, and the environment is moving so fast. Ended up with humans and agents. We have the survey on the wall, the M&M survey. That sort of shows, well, a lot of us are using agents, but let's start quickly. Show of hands. Who, and keep your hand up, please. Who has used ChatGPT, Claude AI, take your pick since this morning? Well, keep your hand up if you're since yesterday, past week. So we have about 90%, and yeah, I think the rest of you are all talking to ChatGPT on the phone instead of listening to me, and that's fine too. But it is stunning to see the difference from last year and where we are in this area. I'll spend a lot of time talking about how we work with agents, but a quick look back into last year, I presented this view. I promised I'll be back with it. The only thing that does not change, or we don't know how to change in this view, is the x-axis. Time moves on. Time continues to move on. There's a basic idea of how we drive technology here in Earnix. It's about constant improvement, small improvements that then add up, and they add up to great big numbers. But when we looked at the numbers this year, we looked at different areas of the business. I think what was most interesting were these blue arrows. In some places, it surprised us. In some places, we were able to exceed sort of this thinking of, hey, let's improve by 1% each day and see how it's going. And when we dug deep into it, we, frankly, as expected, and as you're probably guessing, saw a lot of teams that were able to embrace AI, experiment with AI, but more importantly, work AI into their day-to-day. So experimentation is abundant. We all use AI and agents on a regular basis, but this idea of bringing AI into your day-to-day is quite fascinating and has shown some interesting early results for us. So, if I look at the world of agents, it's everywhere. I brought in a few proof points. PwC has done this work survey, and it's showing a lot of organizations, again, are exploring, piloting the idea of AI agents. The compound annual growth is stunning. It continues to grow. There's good momentum in the marketplace. And I think what's really interesting for us is you see the technology wave that's supporting this growth. We see, just in the past few weeks, more technology around agents, LLMs continuing to evolve, standards emerging in a very early market. That tells you, well, there's quite a lot of adoption. There's quite a lot of opportunity on how to adopt these agents, and we need to support that growth. So here in Earnix, what we're looking to do is build that scaffolding, a scaffolding that can support the AI age, but really focus on the insurance industry. And if we get our scaffolding right, and we believe we will, we believe we do, you're going to be able to build agents. Well, what are agents? There's multiple definitions, but I really like this view of, hey, what can an agent do? One thing it can do, and this is super important, it can reason, okay? At the base of an agent, there's an LLM, large language models. We do not develop large language models in Earnix. We definitely leverage them for multiple developers of those, but they're the heart of the reasoning. The agent also has a set of goals we've given it. The agent has a set of instructions we provided. It remembers, and it has knowledge and context. The agent has a set of tools at its beck and call it can activate. For instance, you can build a tool that can search within your product set and answer questions about your products. That's a tool the agent can invoke at any time. And the agent, at the end of the day, has a good understanding of your environment. So scaffolding is general. The infrastructure is there. But then it's all about your LLM, your instructions, your goals, your specific data and knowledge, and the perception of your environment. I've seen this point where we talk about agents, and a lot of people say, well, good, we really need to get a case study going. We really need to get some sort of a experimentation and trial within our organization to get this going. Personally, I do not think that is sufficient in the reality we live in. The studies, they're abundant, and frankly, they don't help. The idea is to have the ability to try out yourself. Give it a try, see how it goes. And there's reasons to do that. First and foremost is this urgency. There is an erosion of long-standing competitive advantages because of this technology. If my competitive advantage as a company was, hey, I got a lot of knowledge, but it's not just about my knowledge and data. I can quickly sift through it and get insights from it. Other competitors in the market who have a lot of data and may not have had this technology are now having this similar advantage. So my advantages and disadvantages are definitely changing and eroding. On the flip side of that, we don't want anyone to do anything that's not in the context of compliance, not in the context of governance, not in the context of what we refer to as responsible AI. So when you think about this, those guardrails are already in place in day one. A lot of what's happening in the generative AI world is built on the foundation, learning, and frankly, experience of what the world has done, we have done, you have done with predictive AI. So we're not starting from scratch on that front. We understand responsibility has to be there day one. And then the last thing, and that's the one I'll spend most of my time on, is this idea of, and I'm here to talk about technology, but focusing on the people. Focusing on AI agents that are ready to deliver, and what I believe can set companies like ours apart is the way you reimagine your work and the way you reimagine how to work together. So I heard probably 2 months ago, CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, speak and make a statement which really resonated with me. And I also think we overstate the autonomy. We love it, right? Agents gonna come in, they're gonna take over, they're gonna do everything we do. We love overstating that, there's a lot of hype around it, but when you take a step back and look at what's in place, when you look over the horizon and see what's coming, we're not talking full autonomy here. Ultimately, there's very much a human in the loop. Ultimately, these two are connected. Our friends and partners at Salesforce have surveyed their customers. And not surprisingly, 70% of their customers said, well, we want to make sure that anything we do with AI is also done with the conjunction of human work so we can trust the information. Another interesting bit coming from freshworks.com, they've done a very interesting survey. They took a deep look at fine-grained logs around communication, collaboration, workflows, and what they found is when humans and agents interact, there's more than double the communication between humans that happens. Why? Well, if I'm not busy summarizing my emails from the last 2 weeks for my next meeting, I have time to talk to my colleague. I have time to think about the business. I have time to think about how unique we're going to make our offerings. And turns out that's the case. AI agents collaborate. They allow us to have more time. And according to this survey, we spend a lot of that time communicating, talking, and getting more things done. So look, we think of this world of AI, and it's a little far from us because it's, well, we're not developing LLMs. There's some big company doing it out there. AI is going to come for us, and we'll use it. I think our competitive advantage is about how we work, or to be clear, it's about how we work together with the agents. What I collected here are a few, frankly, best practices and scenarios I have seen in the marketplace. And these scenarios really describe some ideas of how we're going to work together. One, you're all probably familiar with this one. I call it learn and discover. Us, you, everyone around us working with a chat interface. There's specific knowledge you have. There's specific knowledge you're going to share in the chat with the agent. And what's interesting, this allows us to build context for discovery. My preference is using Claude AI for this kind of best practice. It builds context around our communication over time. When I communicate with the agent, I ask it to use the context, I ask it to add to the context, I ask it to remove from the context. But this idea of learning and discovering is very much, I think, something we do outside of work. It's very much something we're bringing into work. Second pattern, to me, this one has been mind-blowing in the past year, and I got to go back to do my favorite thing and actually code. I now have time to do this because I work with an agent. This idea of co-building. And it's not about programming. It's about building assets together. I have colleagues in other departments that have built applications and assets to manage different campaigns within the company. I have colleagues in other departments that have used this pattern with different applications to build a data set they're using on the day-to-day via their Excel application. The basic idea here is this is not a discussion, as it is with learn and discover. We're co-building. There's the human, there's the agent, they're working together, they're developing a third entity, an asset. I mentioned a data set, a web page, an application, some code you need for something, and at the heart and soul of this idea is this notion of vibe coding. I shared a few applications here, some to name around Base 44 and Lovable, and they allow us to bring our ideas to life by using natural language. By saying, hey, here's what I need. Help me build this. How do I get it done? So now with co-building, it's the humans and agents creating additional assets. Third pattern we're seeing, and again, this is where it gets to be, I think, a little more involved, a little more interesting, and a lot more valuable. Imagine an existing business process and tool you have today. Imagine it emits data on a regular basis. Imagine how much you can do when you follow that data all day long. Imagine how much you can do when you understand in real time, excuse the engineers in the room, in real time, not really real time, but within a few minutes, what changes have happened. Imagine the specific knowledge you and your teams can now have about that data. So again, same business process as we had in the past, frankly, same set of data, but now humans, agents collaborating, taking that business process, accelerating it, and providing insights on a regular basis. And I'd say I've seen, I mentioned the blue hours and I mentioned the acceleration. The teams in our organization that are able to harness this pattern have really taken down a lot of the day-to-day burden they weren't even sure they had. A lot of the day-to-day burden they didn't really feel. And again, you see communication growing, you see collaboration growing, and frankly, you see impact growing and rate of experimentation taking off. Last, I think extremely important use case that we have here is this idea of automation and recommendation. There's an integrated custom experience. It has a recommendation system behind it. Again, it uses our specific knowledge. You know, I get to stand here and talk about this, but we're so happy to have the Zelros team with us, which is a perfect example for this. Salesforce, true and tested, CRM, workflow. But now look, you can automate some of those workflows. You can get recommendations in line. These recommendations are based on your context, your data, your customers' needs, and they're very, very specific. So you're able to learn and discover, build together, visualize and alert, as well as automate and recommend. And it's a lot. And my first recommendation is do not do all of this together, okay? We tried. It's not great, okay? It's too much, and really, it's too complex. Or we found, and I think others have also found, it's too complex to happen at the same time. I'd also say it will not happen if we're not explicit about it. This does not happen organically. Gravity is going to pull you and your teams and your business away from doing this. You gotta exert some energy into this in order to pull away and make it happen. So it's gotta be an explicit effort, explicit champions in the team helping drive this forward. And it's not a generic experiment. It's not, hey, let's use AI, see how that's going for us. It's gotta be optimized for what your team needs. It's gotta be aligned for impact. This takes energy, it takes time, it takes expertise, which means it's not supposed to compete with your business priorities. It's supposed to accelerate them. It's supposed to align with them. If it competes, trust me, it will lose. Okay, it's a new thing. We got our business going. It's definitely not gonna happen. When you find that alignment, one scenario, one use case, a lot of interesting things have to happen. So the chart here shows, I don't know why I put it here, but it's really what not to do. We skipped this one in Earnix, but I've seen a few colleagues use this. I find it personally, opinion-wise, a bit conservative to say, well, you know, we understand the patterns, we sort of learned them. We're off the testing and use cases, we want to try something out. Let's double down on this idea of learn and discover. Make sure everyone has their, take your pick, ChatGPT, Claude AI, Copilot, maybe you're using Google Gemini. Everyone is empowered to work with it. We figured out the different compliance needs. We're making sure we have the right guardrails in place. This works. I think it's not a great winning strategy. I talked about the urgency earlier. I talked about the degrading advantages and disadvantages, the changing environment. I believe it's useful. It will typically drive some results, but I think there's a way between the two options here. There's this idea of, again, I'm looking back at what we've done, and I wish we've done exactly this. I think we're now at this point, but the idea is take a look at all these patterns. Enable them in your organization, okay? Embrace them, put energy into aligning them with your business practices, sort of start ramping them up, see what's working for you, okay? Not everything is gonna work for everyone. Probably 1 quarter, 2 quarters into this, you're going to say, well, I'm seeing this idea of co-building, building assets together with agents really working for us, and we have this great opportunity to drive this whole agenda of alerting and visualization that's going to drive more efficiency in our workforce. Fine, let's double down on those. Again, the important bit is be very explicit with yourself and your management first about the plan. Push that plan, learn and experiment and move forward. Again, when I looked up these patterns and put them together, we see a few more. We see ones that are very unique to all sorts of customers. So these are very much best practices I've seen throughout the industry, but not necessarily the only ones. So I guess before we adjourn, a few things. First, experimentation is everywhere. I really think we're way beyond that point where we can feel comfortable, we're experimenting and it's fine and we'll figure it out later. At Earnix, our commitment, our goal, and my colleagues talked about this yesterday, is create that scaffolding for the AI age. Provide those guardrails, those responsible parts of the infrastructure that allows you to build this agent. I say, getting off the bench is really important here. Every time, and you'll see this a lot, sort of someone comes in and says, well, agents are taking over the world or taking over my world. I think it's worth a discussion. I think it's worth doubling down into it. And really what we're seeing is that the autonomy, everybody loves to overstate it, but it's not where we want to be. And keep in mind, we're not in this room, in our organization, we're not the ones, most likely, that are going to build the next best LLM. We're not the ones that are going to create the next sort of big step function in the world of AI. But really, that's becoming, or it's come to a point where we got enough to work with. What we can control is how we work together with it, where we put best practices, and how we can move this forward. If you put all of these together, I'll just have one more thought. I let myself go a bit with this thought. I'm not sure it's definitely not something that has been proven yet. We'll know in a few years, I'm sure. But I think, I dare say, look, that there's, we had the industrial age, right? It brought us machines. The steam machine, machines that can work, okay? And that changed the world in oh so many ways. Then we had the digital age. That brought us machines that can compute. CPUs, GPUs, public clouds. We got a lot of compute available to us, and it's helping us do our day-to-day work. I dare say we're now entering this area, in this era where machines can reason. So machines used to work. Machines, of course, can compute, but now machines can reason. If they can reason, it doesn't mean we will not reason. It means we can reason together. And I think what ultimately matters is not how well they reason. What ultimately matters is what kind of impact and value this helps us unlock, first for people and ourselves, our teams, but I think there's really, especially in our industry, a true potential to impact whole societies with this. So I wish for all of us to find that balance. I wish for all of us to harness that reasoning. And I wish for all of us to celebrate many more of my anniversaries together. Thank you, and have a great day.